Hey man, how's it going?
Oh, not too bad. It's a little rainy, a little hot. It's a not too bad
Yeah,
day.
weird little day, but overall though, good episode. Not a bad
Oh yeah,
episode.
I was
Yeah.
I was very enthused when I saw the trailer for it because it did like the first minute or something like
Mhm.
that and it revealed that Fry wasn't Fry. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Right.
Usually
Well,
with trailers they always put the good stuff out, and that's kind of just modern trailers right now. It's like here's the whole thing, here's the good
mhm.
stuff. Please come see it. Oh, that was only the good stuff they put in the trailer. Wow. Well, live and learn.
Yeah, money well wasted, but or
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
spent, so to speak. Yeah, welcome back everybody to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, the review of the Temp, Hulu's third episode of this
And
part of the
best one I
season or this
think
new season, whatever you want to call it.
and
Yeah,
and best one for the news
best one for
the
Hulu.
best one for Hulu in my
Absolutely. Yep.
opinion. Yes,
Absolutely. This
again, the
is
opening was the best
Yep.
part. Leela was Leela, Fry wasn't Fry.
Yeah.
But everyone was
Everybody else was
everyone.
everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like Zoidberg was Zoidberg, Hermes was Hermes. The
Mhm.
professor, I think, was a little teeny bit forced because he's usually not stupid in that way, but he is the
Yeah.
professor
He's
in
not
that way.
senile. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's
not
not
quite
senile.
senile, but he is
Yeah,
senile or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Leela was definitely the
everyone,
boss. Yeah.
yes, everyone was as close as they could be to their original character archetype that we've known from the original Fox run, and I would say even from the Comedy Central run. So
Sure.
overall, I'd give this a yeah, good start.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, like spoilers ahead as we discuss this. But yeah, no, this episode is like true to form. True to form for sure. It has a lot of really good points. I don't think
Paint
it's
by
as good.
numbers. That
Yeah,
that that's what I was using to describe myself. It's a very good
sure. I
Futurama
don't
paint by numbers.
exactly. I don't think it stands out as like a great episode, but
No,
overall, I mean, and also like, comparing it to a lot of other Hulu episodes, I'd say this episode really stands up as like, oh hey, like do
Wi-
more of this, please. Like
within
we
top
actually had some
three.
really good things. Yeah,
Within top three. Mind you, there's only what
easily,
12 now or 13 with this
exactly.
one.
13 with this one,
So
easily the top one,
it's kind of
easily,
sad.
maybe even top two, man. Like
Yeah.
I still stand by. I think it's actually the best Hulu episode,
Uh,
despite the fact that it's not as smart, which we'll get into in a minute.
no,
But it's
no.
and there are some issues with the plot overall. But there are some jokes that make me laugh. There are some, which to be fair, that's the previous one. What is it? Not Quid's Game. Oh no, it is
It
Quid's Game.
was
Quid's
Quiz
Game
Game, yeah.
had like a few lines that made me laugh, but the overall story was pretty bad.
Oh, it
And
was
the one
brutal.
Amigo, the story is okay, but it's not very funny. It's actually kind of boring,
Yes,
and doesn't.
agreed.
And both of those did not have any resolution. So I will say with this one at least, the ending does kind of have some resolution.
For the
They
crew,
for the crew, they do yeah for not for the temp. What's his name again? Frank.
Frank.
Frank, right? No, for that whole thing, it's pretty well done for the ending part. But yeah, we'll get into it. So the main plot of this episode is actually for the first time ever, like for many seasons, because I think I made mention of this during our review of season three. The last time we ever have a cold open before the opening credits, and this is the first time in like 20 years since we had this. So we actually have an opening credit, and this is what you're referring to with the trailer. So I didn't watch this, and I'm happy I didn't. I try not to watch those myself. Not for something like a 22-minute episode. I can wait a couple more
Yes,
days
yes,
for the
yeah,
actual
yeah.
episode. It's not a
It,
big
it's
deal.
it's Futurama, not Star
Yeah,
Wars of old.
right.
It's
So
Futurama.
I'm not looking for Easter eggs, but my God, did they have a lot of like little callbacks in this episode? But in any case, here we have
Oh
the
yeah,
temp, and
yeah.
basically the temp is to show that the Planet Express crew is doing a delivery as they should be. This is their job. They're doing like a
Yep.
little job on the side here for Lur and Ninda. So we get the Omicrons again, which is kind of cool, and they're a fun little part. But
I do have an issue with that, but I'll let you finish your
we'll,
thought.
we'll get
Sorry.
into it. Yeah. So we get into this introduction of so everybody's normal, everybody's doing their thing except for Fry, and Fry is like replaced. There is a temp, and he's wearing his clothes and everything, and everyone's calling him Fry. And then we are led to believe that something has happened to the Fry with this guy who's then taken his place. So he's either like a body snatcher or he's like some kind of like he is Fry, but he's changed appearance. Something has changed.
Yeah.
But then over the course of the episode, we learn that this guy was indeed a temp when Fry went on holiday back after the snooze incident of
Yes.
Amazon Women in the Mood of
It's a
season
bit of a
two.
nostalgic remember Barry thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, remember this great episode? It's
Oh
like,
my God.
yes,
So,
the
okay.
new
Yes,
episode.
the snooze episode, and we'll get to that in a minute too, because I do have some issues with this. So, in any case, we have this whole thing, and it turns out that Hermes and the professor had got a temp that brought it in for Fry to take over for him for 2 weeks. And Frank, who everybody continuously forgets who he is as soon as he enters or leaves the room or whatever, they forget his name, they forget what he looks like, has the best time working for the Planet Express crew. And he has the best time. He loves it. So much so that he's heartbroken that they forget him on a planet when they're doing a job, and he's there for 20 years.
What's the job, Anthony?
Delivery boy?
No. What's the job they forget him?
Oh, they're delivering books
that got wet.
That got wet, and they're dropping them off on another planet that everybody's dropped off their old books, and so no one reads anymore. I guess
which
that's
is untrue. Which is very untrue because there's multiple times throughout the series we see Leela read and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then they forget him on this planet with all the books, and he's there for about 20 years. And Fry comes back from his holiday, and it's not until the present day that they remember that the temp is still there. So they go back. But the temp has somehow figured out, because of a book that he found,
which was revealed later.
Which is
so
revealed
a little bit later.
Yes, and like I said, this is a spoiler review. But everything, he finds this book that basically teaches him how to, like, I guess, manipulate or hypnotize people.
Yeah,
by,
it's a very weird effect too. Yeah, like you're just spinning your eyes, which eyes don't spin that way, but it's a cartoon. Blah blah blah.
Whatever, right? It's something to the effect that he's doing something with his eyes. That's supposed to be what it's giving us this impression of, to the point where he makes everybody think that he is Fry. They don't forget him as Fry, and they forget Fry on said planet, but only for about 6 weeks before they go back, due to the fact that this temp is so productive that they're like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like our company's doing too well.
Body odor. Oh God, the body odor.
Yeah. The body odor's gone. Productivity is high. Soap is being used. Like, something has changed. And then they all realize, 6 weeks ago they took when it started to change, they went to this one planet which so happens to still have Fry on it. And then they have this little fight, and they end up leaving the temp there again. And that's basically what happens in the overall episode. But any case, I think you and I agree. It is funny. There are really good episodes of this episode, or good season of this episode. Very, very good lines.
I would chalk this one up to being very parallel with. Oh, I meant to look this up beforehand, so I had the
Love and Oracle
title. Love and Oracle.
Yeah, the one where he becomes a police officer.
Yeah, where Fry
right?
becomes a cop. Yeah, it felt very. I know there's not the same beats and stuff like that, but it felt very similar in a way. And also, David Herman's plays, I think, pretty much the same voice as the Oracle for the Frank.
Oh, so, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
Pickles.
Yeah, Pickles. I think that's maybe why I'm putting the two together.
Oh, okay. Yeah. David Herman's a good side bad guy for a lot of these characters.
He was Scruffy, Frank, Dr. Ben Beeler, and of course Turunga Morris in this, which they drew the mouth right in this one this time.
You're right. They corrected the mistake. Thanks to us.
Yeah. So just there's just fun little things like that, and that I like to say. Like I said, this would be probably on par with the Comedy Central run. So solid, still not as good as the goat stuff, but still solid.
Yeah, solid like B plus episode, I would say. It's a solid episode. Okay, so let's talk about because I think there's a lot of positives actually.
Yeah, let's positives. Let's go for the positives.
Let's go positives. Okay. So overall, I think that again, I love that they've made Fry a main character again, even though he was kind of missing for part of it.
Yeah,
but at least it focused around
revolved
him.
around him. Yes, and
that was
Leela was in the front too, and not stupid. She wasn't like, I'm always drunk. What?
Yeah.
What?
Everybody was pretty on tune, except for the professor a little bit, but that was just a comedy.
Leela was hot in this episode. Like she was Leela.
Yeah, Leela was good.
Bender was pushed back though. We didn't see much of Bender this episode.
Though I will say, if we were doing our MVPs for this, although we're not because it's not a full on review, we're just talking about the episode as a whole, I would say Bender takes the spot for me for the funniest scenes. I thought had some really good one-liners.
They forgot why they had to sneak onto the ship to use the Kion powder. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a quick Band-Aid ripoff.
I was gonna throw it at somebody. And they're like, why is the ship side?
It just falls over sometimes.
They forgot the temp was there. That is so good.
It's a pretty good
line. Yeah. But I just love Bender's I found my pepper. I was gonna do something, but it's just you can't remember, and it's so natural. It's so natural that it comes out. I also
a very fluid episode. Episode. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel empty. I will say that the whole Fry and Leela thing being like, oh, yeah, I'm just gonna go hang out with my parents tonight, and then she's using that
Yeah.
same excuse at the end there felt a little weird, kind of
I
thing.
think so. I think she was just kind of disgusted with the little bug thing coming out of his beard. I think
It
that's
could
all
have been
it
it.
was.
It could have been
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It could have just been like the whole thing. Like I remember eating with my parents because Fry's been off or something like that. Even though I said he wasn't the issue, but he is the issue.
Well, so that's the thing, right? So everybody starts acting, and then this is another thing. It's kind of fun about the episode. I kind of wish they alluded to this a little bit later. That'll be kind of one of my negatives, but like having her be with her parents and her grandmother,
I like
and
that.
then she's
Yeah,
like, yeah, and they're like, oh, so what's going on? She's like, I don't know, something just feels off. Like, and everybody kind of
yes.
feels that. I wish we had a little bit more of everybody kind of feeling that way before we got the reveal
Yeah.
that the temp
Okay,
was
yeah, it was a
took
little
over.
rushed with that bit. It was a little
Yeah,
rushed with that bit. They probably could have taken away again just from knowing like there's a certain time limit they got to make. But again, this is on Hulu, which
yeah, 25
you
minutes.
can make
Yeah,
like it's 23 minutes and 55 seconds I think
there you go.
overall, which it's a streaming website. You don't have to worry about commercials anymore, so you can actually make it whatever length you want.
Sure.
So, but what they should have done was broaden the whole like something feels off scenes.
Yeah, well,
Like every one of them should have had
yeah,
something,
I
one
would
or
have.
two, and and Bender should have had maybe one or more or something like that.
Yeah, well, I could have imagined a scene because all of the main crew were all in this episode, which is also another highlight. Like everybody's, as you mentioned, like everybody's normal and everybody's acting like the way they should. There, if they had cut down maybe a little bit with the Naninda and Lur like
Yes.
63rd anniversary thing, if they cut
Yeah.
that down a little bit and maybe had it be like, okay, so we're going to go back now and we don't get the flashback, like no flashback yet, like it just goes into something else, but then we go to there and then Leela and Fry or Temp Fry are like hanging out and she's like, oh, something feels off, and then we cut over to like Bender and he's like hanging out with the Temp and he's like, something feels off, like everybody's just starting to feel something.
Yes,
I thought that would have been
exactly.
kind of nice.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and
Like
everybody's
the
off,
the,
yeah.
the
Except
rhythm
for
was
Scruffy.
knocked off. Yeah, the rhythm was knocked off a little bit. Like you could have had him not screw up and have like Leela say like, oh, usually Fry you'd fumble that, or
Yeah.
or
It's like, why
Bender
are you
saying like,
drinking?
good
Ben's
job
like,
there,
why
sweatpants
aren't
or
you
whatever he
drinking
is.
with me? It's like, Fry, why aren't you
Yes.
sitting on the couch? He's like, oh, I just wanted to clean. He's like, something's off about you. Like there could have
Exactly.
been
Yeah.
something, right? Yeah.
This is, I guess, this would be like how we think we would improve the episode segment kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I agree that there needs to be just a little more dissonance with the fake
The
Fry,
temp.
the
Yeah.
temp Fry. Yeah.
Frank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But overall, like, okay. So those were my positives for it. What were your main positives of overall with the episode? Would you
It
say?
just felt like Futurama. Like that's the best way I can say it. Fry was Fry. He was. I didn't like how they found him. He looked a little like, yeah, he grew a beard, but like he just felt like off a little bit.
Well, I don't think he ate.
Yeah, I think that was
Like,
it. But he was there for
skinny.
6 weeks, and
Yeah, he had a beard, all that fun stuff.
I know it's
yeah.
a cartoon and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but 6 weeks of beard growth for me is not very much. And he, yeah, they should have done a little more with that. But positives, oh man, again, it felt more Futurama. Bender wasn't a main thing in this, which is fine, but he did have a main moment, which is great.
Yes, a couple main moments in there,
Leela
yeah.
was more focused in this episode more than she's been. She was Leela, like I said
Still
before.
Leela. Even
Fry
Amy and
was Fry.
Hermes still,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and all Zoidberg as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they all had
Right.
something. Yeah.
This is the positive. All the voices sounded really good to me. They didn't sound old. They don't sound young, yes, but they did not sound like, oh, where am I? They didn't sound.
Yeah. They didn't sound so old, right? I will say there is actually, I feel like there's like a little bit of a meta joke there at the very beginning when Leela's like, she's kind of talking like Kirk, like the Star Trek thing.
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, we're going to like this thing to cater this 63rd anniversary. Not something I thought I'd be doing at this age. Like it feels like Katie Sagal is like talking about this like in her personal life. She's like, I can't believe I'm still on Futurama like after all this time. But I'm sure that's just a little small thing. Okay, so you mentioned it, and so I'll talk about this. I will actually say that's one of, I don't want to call it a negative because I don't think it's fair, but it's a little bit of a pet peeve.
It's inevitable to happen. What's that the word?
Yeah, it's a slight little pet peeve. So something with the voice, but honestly, the voice that I didn't really think DiMaggio's voices were that bad.
He was the priest, the Omicron priest, and it took me a little while to
it's
go,
him,
that's him.
But you don't. It doesn't really matter because that character's never been seen before. That could be any voice, right?
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
John DiMaggio only has like 7 voices though, and they're all great, but it didn't sound like any of them. So that's my thoughts.
Well, Bender was close enough, but I would say
his Bender is on point.
Yeah, I'd say Fry in this episode. like it still sounds older. He still sounds like kind of
Yes.
harsh in his voice, and I think that's just Billy West is old. But the pet peeve I have is like, so when they do the flashback, so we go all the way back to the Snoo Snoo episode, like or after that time, and it's fun to see like the cast, like his groin cast and everything, and he's in Zoidberg's like medical area, and he's like cutting it off for him so he can go on holiday, and he ends up going back to the planet Amazonia. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that
That's
little
really
joke
funny. But I will say that it sounds strange to me because I'm like, oh, that episode, yeah, long time ago, Fry still sounds the way that he does currently.
Yes.
Right. He doesn't sound as young. I kind of wish they had altered his voice or they had changed something that maybe it would have made him sound like he was that kind of Fry from way back when. But also when they did the flashback, I kind of wish they had gone to what's the size of like the screen for, because right now it's like the widescreen, like HD. I kind of wish
remember what
they
it's called. I think the aspect ratio is like 4:3 or 3:4.
Yes,
I can't
the
quite
aspect
remember.
ratio. I wish they kind of changed it, kind of matching the Snoo Snoo time frame, like that Amazon Women in the Mood kind of thing. That was a small thing.
Yeah.
Overall, it was very good. My other kind of negative is that they kind of use modern.
We can do negatives, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my other negative is that they kind of use modern language in this episode, despite the fact that it was taking part. So the only thing was, so during the flashback time when they're so Fry goes on a holiday. Yeah, they go to the library. And then the Temp is with them for those first 2 weeks. And then at the end of it, and Leela says something along the lines like, "Oh, I'm so annoyed with his toxic positivity."
Oh yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's that whole toxic masculinity thing, which is only men can be toxic, women can't be toxic, no one else can be toxic. It's only toxic masculinity.
Toxic. But even if toxicity was not in the vocabulary of people.
Yeah, it's definitely overused. It's definitely overused,
it was and especially 23 years ago, and I was like, okay, it's a dated reference that's in the future.
Yes,
it's a very strange situation. So I was like, okay, well, that clearly shows you that that's not taking part in that time. So I wish they would have tried to avoid terminology like that, because it didn't really make sense at that point, even though the episode, those scenes do not exactly happen in the Snoo Snoo episode.
No.
But I digress. So that was one thing.
It's from the same time, though.
Yeah. And the only other negative I kind of have is that at the end of this episode, it does feel a little bit like coincidental that the one book he happened to have was a book that could teach him how to change minds. Or
he also had the third Lord of the Rings book, Anthony. Come on.
Which he refused to read. Why?
Because it was out of order and he didn't want to read it out of order.
Didn't want to ruin it for himself.
Yeah.
At that point, that book is like 1,100 years old. So.
Yeah. So it's pretty much 100 years old at this point, isn't it?
Exactly.
Or close to it.
So I did like that little joke. It was like, oh, it's Return of the King. Didn't you read this? Like, no. So, in any case, I thought that was my two main gripes of the episode. I wish there was a little bit more like development with like, oh, something's off, and maybe
I agree with you on that one.
The language like that was kind of common, like modern day stuff. I kind of wish
that one doesn't bother me as much, but I understand where you're coming from, and I can agree with you on that. Sure. A couple of my pet peeves. Yeah. I just lost them. I forget what they were. Oh, I do remember one is the religion for the Omicrons. They already have a Jewish
they're basically
like
Jewish.
Race. Yeah. Well, and that's Zoidberg. Zoidberg is kind of the Jewish race in a way. And then they also gave it to the Omicrons. I didn't like that. I don't like that.
It's very strange.
Because it's also
mix, like all the religion stuff with it. Like they're having a wedding. Then they do like I did like the Molotov. And
Molotov.
That was pretty funny.
I think that was probably the whole joke that they put it behind. It was just
that. Was like the whole thing. It's like we gotta have to say Molotov. How do we do this? Like okay. And then the chair thing and yeah.
But they also have that weird eyeball god that's watching over them too. Like it's a bit of a mockery in a way. Just like someone's like, oh, let's make a wedding with them. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Right. And just like, well, what do we do here? Because Christianity is already whatever. They could have had the space pope, the lizard, do something. That would have been fun. Funny.
Yeah, they could
have had the robot pastor priest or whatever come and do something too. Like just I feel like we got cheated in a way, and also
it felt
belittled.
It felt a little rushed for like having the Omicronians in this for such a short period for no real reason.
It's like the first 5 minutes, not even or something like that.
I was also going to say, like, we also know, like, what is Bender's religion thing, like Robotica, right? Like, even the one he made up, but that's basically like, or Robonica, whatever it is. And they even have,
I think that's a holiday but I can't remember.
Whatever, it's a Jewish holiday. It's a robot Jewish holiday or whatever they called it, right?
It might sound Jewish, but no, it's newish.
It's right. It's a robot holiday. That's all it was. But he made it up to get out of work, as we learned in that episode, right? But yeah, the Omicronians doing that. You're right. The Omicronian god thing could have been kind of weird as well. It kind of reminded me of the Beast with a Billion Backs, honestly.
Yeah,
like
the
just
eyeball.
like the eye. But
yeah,
it is what it is. It's not. It didn't bother me as much as. Actually, it didn't really bother me that much. I liked the scene. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah.
But
there was tons of humor in it because the whole thing is that
fun.
Lur and hate each other, but they love each other, kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
So
I did like, now we're gonna crush the skull of your father-in-law.
Yeah,
like,
that was pretty funny. There definitely was jokes there. I just don't like that they just used Jewish for the third time, but I thought it was the second time, but the third
it's the only
time.
religion they can really work with, because that's what Americans would know, right? So
yes. You couldn't make it Hindi, you couldn't make it Muslim because there's problems with there. You couldn't make it anything else or even Norse. They should have been Norse. There we go. They're all about battle. Yeah. They're all about Norse stuff.
I guess they couldn't think of enough jokes, maybe. So.
Oh, there's tons there.
Sure.
But I don't know. But and the other thing that I don't like was the animation for the hypnosis with his eyes. Just use the Hypnotoad. And it could have been a self-published book from the Hypnotoad. Boom, there we go. It's within the world of Futurama.
Honestly, yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, because you and I kind of were talking about this off mic, right? Like if he had some relation to the Hypnotoad, or if he was able to use the Hypnotoad in order to do this, that would have been pretty good. But yeah, having a book, it's like, oh, how to be like the Hypnotoad. And he's like, oh, so now we have a backstory of the Hypnotoad. Yeah, that would have been kind of interesting.
A self-published book, and I would love to see the Hypnotoad like a bow tie or something like that, like about the author section or something like that.
Yeah. And master class with Hypnotoad.
Yeah, exactly. Because as we discussed in our review for what was the episode called, Anthony? The one with Leela gets two eyes.
Cyberhouse Rules.
Cyberhouse Rules, yes. With Adelaide, who was also an orphan, he was very neutral, like certain gray neutral aliens, which is
everything
in our
was
head
standard. Everything was average. Everything was just, black and white, and his Hawaiian shirt was toned down to gray, right? Like, you're right. Clearly, he could have been easily like a descendant or part.
Well, just from the
Trino,
is Hypnotoad an alien, or is he just a modified toad? Right. If he's an alien, then he could come from the same planet. Blah blah blah, kind of thing, right? But who wants to indulge the lore with this? We could just write a cool episode. It was a good episode, but
it was fun.
I like the lore.
Yeah, it was overall funny, and it doesn't really. That's the thing. It doesn't. Maybe that's why I kind of keep it from going higher than a B in certain ways, because it doesn't push it any. It cannot be as good as you mentioned, like the GOAT episodes, right? Like you can't get to that height because we don't have anything that extends in canon either. Yes. It's just funny, and it's fun. There's no politics. There's no issues with anything with any of that stuff, and everybody still acts. No one treats anybody worse. Fry, is removed from the episode partly, but that's part of the story. There's a reason for it. Everybody's happy about that. So overall, I'd say this episode's probably, if not the best, like one of the best in the new Hulu show. Yeah.
I think I like this one a lot just because the rise from the last episode. Because I think you and I both agree that the last episode was second or third worst episode ever of Futurama.
The one previous to this, the Quiz Game. For me, it was probably fourth worst, but it's up there for sure. Yeah.
I think I put it as second worst for me personally. But like because this episode's good, it went from bottom of the barrel to like, oh, it's actually good. Yeah. So like there was such a rise in like
quality. That's true. That's what it feels like.
It feels like this is like an A plus, but in all honesty, it's a B.
It's a B.
A good solid B.
And before we finish this off as well, I will say, so when we did our predictions, we were way off.
Right.
Nothing to do with Igner. Right? Had nothing to do with Amy. Had nothing to do with the professor in terms of firing him. No. The only thing we would have kind of got right is that somebody replaced somebody. And that's like obvious with the title.
That's the basest thing ever. Somebody got replaced by the Temp. Oh, you know who it is? It's Igner. Oh my God, that's a great idea. Well, what if it's Amy doing this? Oh, it's also not bad. But, but no, we were completely wrong.
We were off. So the one that we were completely off of happens to be the best so far. So
you know what?
Let's hope we're wrong for the other ones.
Well, what is the next episode? The next episode is Beauty and the Bug, where Bender becomes a matador.
So we have a lot of stuff to talk about with this one, our predictions, but we'll save for that time. But yeah, man, good episode. I'd say
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
probably
yeah, B.
probably 7.5, 8 out of 10 for this one. I thought this was a solid, funny episode. There was some things that made me laugh. I enjoyed it. Definitely give it a watch. If not any of the other ones, this one is just, it feels like a good Futurama episode. You can just jump right in.
Yep. You could play this anywhere after the Amazon episode, and it would fit right in.
Absolutely, absolutely. It feels like it could, like you mentioned earlier, it feels like it could be easily during the Comedy Central run because of the HD quality and all that kind of stuff easily. So, no, very good. All right, man. Yeah, thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, toodaloo.
Doodaloo.